All right. Just getting everything set up over here. Give me 1 second. Let's get John in here. While we're getting set up over here, go ahead and drop in the chat who you are, who you work for, or where you're from. It'd be awesome. Get a little participation going. And let's see, we'll get John in here. Hi, Hillary. Thanks for there. He is. Oh, and he's gone. And he's gone. Hopefully he'll come back. Hey, Chris. Hey, Brian. Johnny, how are you?
Hey, John. I'm doing good.
We're kind of matching. We're coloring on. Unplanned. All right. Let's see. Yeah, we got a lot of activity in the chat. Love it. Love it. We're gonna give it like 30 more seconds and we're gonna go. I know it was a little late starting it. I apologize. Just making sure I was all set up on my end. Oh, we got some Boilermakers in the house. Okay. All right. I like it. Love it. Hey, Chris. I'm still gonna reach out to you, Chris. I promise. It's just been crazy. It's great to meet you in New York. Don't hold it against me, please. All right, Johnny, you ready to go? Ready to roll? Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. We're super glad to have you. My name is John Barron. I am the Director of Community and Engagement here at Lasso. And so we do these events all the time, and we are doing more and more show flow related events. And so we're excited to talk about the Global Elements Manager and the refresh that the team has been working on. And so Johnny here is going to walk you guys through those updates, that refresh. Just a couple housekeeping items. If you have questions, pop them in the chat. We've got obviously Johnny here to answer some of those, but I don't know, Jonathan is on as well. And I think Steven might be a little late, but they'll be able to help answer some questions. If for some reason we don't get to your question, either in the chat or live, we'll follow up with you after. But yeah, I think we're just going to jump right in. And also this recording will be posted to the Show Flow space. So if you haven't joined the Show Flow space, make sure you do that. It'll give you access to this at a later date as well. So with that, Johnny, I'm going to turn it over to you. And looking forward to seeing what we got.
Sounds good. So this time around, I have another monitor to kind of keep an eye on chat. So nice. If you see me looking over, that's what I'm looking at. But I'm going to share my screen, and we will jump in. Make sure I'm sharing the right one.
Yeah.
All right. All right, I got a very simple slide. I'm not a big on too many slides. I like to get into the application a bit. But yeah, as John mentioned, today we're going to kind of focus on, since we only have kind of 30 minutes here, going to focus on just this, the new GEM 2.0. If we have some time, I'll kind of come back out of GEM and walk through some of the new updates that we've made, but we will likely have another session here in the coming weeks that focus a little bit more on just the rundown specific updates that we've made. But for those of you who maybe have no idea what, GEM, which is short for Global Element Manager, is, that's kind of what I want to talk through just on the high level, and then we'll talk through and jump into the app, walk through the new features, how to get started, how to migrate, etc. And then feel free to ask away on the questions and things like that as we kind of jump in. So first off, what is GEM? What is the Global Element Manager? Is it a good fit for you and your productions? So basically what the Global Element Manager is it's a reusable collection of elements, or you can also just think of them as rows, in a rundown. When you think of an element, you can think of it as In the sports space, that could be a sponsorship, activation. That could be, things like reusable items that you do game to games. That could be a national anthem. That could be a coin toss, pre-game warm-ups, etc. Anything that, gets often used across different games or different rundowns. This could also be used in, for broadcasting if you have, kind of turnkey, basically like similar broadcasts that you run week to week, month to month, etc. There might be a good fit in here and kind of how to kind of use it. It'll make a little bit more sense once I kind of visualize it in the application, but basically it's a reusable set of elements that you can create, update, and then when you're building your rundowns, you can just simply insert those items, so you don't have to build out each element, row to row. And then the other aspect of it is if you're using these elements across multiple rundowns that are, whether upcoming games or upcoming events, upcoming broadcasts, we also enable you to make changes and then publish those changes to your upcoming, events and rundowns. So for example, if, one of your Pizza Hut, sponsorship elements, you need to update the PA script, and that element is used in 3 to 4 upcoming games, rather than having to go into each one of those games and update them with the new content, you can just update that in the element manager and then publish that change to 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, rundowns, saving you, the goal here, just saving you a lot of time on data entry and processes there. So that's kind of the high level look at it. It'll also, make more sense once I kind of jump in. And then today we're going to kind of talk about some of the new things that we've brought. One of the main problems that we wanted to solve for is, one, just making this tool a lot easier to use and also making it more scalable to your events. It could be, for those of you who have kind of used the legacy one, if you need to make modifications to your column structure, maybe you get a new video board, or maybe you introduce a new MC script into your rundowns. Scaling that with the element manager can just be a little bit complicated, and we had to jump in and assist a lot of users for making sure things are set up correctly. So we've done a lot to help, one, the migration setup, but then also introducing a new mapping system, which we'll kind of walk through in a moment. And then we've introduced an all new side panel, which is where you can access, make updates, changes, insert, and use the elements across the board, all without losing visibility into the rundown that you're working on or running live, etc. So anyways, just kind of a quick high level note. Let's go ahead and just jump in, and we'll kind of run through some of the, let me make sure I have the chat up just so I can kind of monitor this a little bit. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is, we are in Rundown right now, and I have global elements on my account. And on the global elements tab, you can see I have 3 element sets, and these have not been migrated. This is kind of a fresh account. So I have 3 element sets. Today I'm going to work in this element set 1, which we only have 6 elements, but I wanted to kind of keep it pretty simple. And then we have some predefined element tags, just some sample tags. Those of you who are customers and that already use this, you'll obviously have your own data in here with all of your tags, etc. And so the first step to getting started and trying this out is, you want to make sure that you create a new rundown, in our new Rundown 2.0. And so I have this game 1 that I've created. And so I'm going to click on this and kind of jump in. And this is a super simple, I don't have anything really built out here. Just have like 14 sample rows with some sample column structures. We have items, start, duration, an audio, video, lighting, and a PA script column. And so to get started from here, I will click on this ellipses in the top right, and you're going to see this new global elements option. And so all you need to do is, just the first time that you access this and you click on it, we're going to alert you with the migration step. And so what this does is you will see a list of all of your element sets that you have defined. And from here, you'll just need to perform the migrate step. The important thing I'll note on this is that this migration step does not affect any of your previously existing element sets. So we aren't altering any of the data. You can still, if you try this out, maybe you're mid-season and you want to test it out, but you're not ready to, make the full switch to the new app. You can still do this and then still go back and use the existing element sets, in a legacy rundown. So this doesn't alter or modify any of that data. But this step is super simple. I just go to the element set 1, which is what I'm going to demo today, and I just click this migrate button. And once that's done, and it should only take a second or two at most, you'll see we have a successful migrated checkbox. And so from here, all I need to do is just click this open button, and this will pull in and render the new Element Manager side panel, or the GEM side panel for short. And so some quick notes just on this side panel. It is a side panel that can be resized. So we have, if you hover over the divider line, you can resize this. The biggest benefit of this new side panel is that you still have full access to your entire rundown on the left. So I can still scroll the table, scroll vertical. I can still make all of my changes while still having visibility in my element set on the right. And so this can be activated as well as it can be closed. So when it's open, you obviously can use it and keep it there. But if you need to close it, this X icon in the bottom right-hand corner will allow you to close that. And then to bring it back up, you just go right back up to the ellipses and click the global elements, and this will populate it there. And so the next step from here, once it's been migrated, and that's basically just our system taking your element set and we're pulling it into kind of our new schema so that we can use it. The next step that you'll need to do is the mapping step. And so you'll see I have the element set rendered, but I can't actually interact or use these elements yet. And that's because at this point in time, we don't know actually where to populate the data and the column data. So all you need to do on the next step is just click this map button, and this will pull up the column mapping. And so from here, it should be pretty straightforward. But if you look at it from a two-column setup standpoint, we have our rundown on the left, which we are in game 1. You can see it right here. And then below that, these are all of my columns in this game 1 rundown. So we have an items column, an audio, a video, a lighting, and a PA script. And then on the right-hand side, we have the element set 1. And then these are the columns that I need to basically choose what I want to map to the rundown columns. So obviously, our suggestion is obviously for your element set columns to, name those columns the same names as your rundown columns, but they don't have to be. And so from here, all I need to do is just find the audio column. So I'm going to, I have the audio column here. I just click the drop down and I can select audio. I'll go to the video, select video, lighting, select lighting, and then the PA script. I have a script column that I'll select there. Once you've selected all the columns, you'll see all columns mapped in green. I will preface it by saying that you do not have to map every column. And so the benefit of that is this could enable you, those of you who might use different element sets for different teams. I know, like, for example, college, they might have, for NCAA, you might have element set for football, you might have a different element set for baseball, etc. You could potentially, operate all within a singular element set, since you can map the columns per rundown to different column sets. But you don't necessarily have to. This just enables more configurationable options. And so what I'll do now that I have my columns mapped, I'm just going to click save. And once that's done, the mapping has been successful, and I can now access and interact with these element sets on the right. And so I have just a small snippet of these. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. And I have these now, I can interact with them, etc. I will make a quick call out. You can go back and modify your mapping that you defined and change it if you need to by clicking the global element settings in the bottom right hand corner and then select the column mapping. And this will bring up that same modal that we just worked on here, and I can make changes and then click save, and then click save again. So you can access this maybe if you made a mistake and you make a change, or what likely might be the scenario is, maybe you decide to add a new column in your rundown and you have a new column in your element set you want to map it to. This obviously is the step you'll take, to help scale the production as, your rundowns and your column structures change a little bit. And so from here, we now have the side panel on the right, and I'll just walk through some of the quick features. Some of these are going to be familiar, but others are going to be new. And so the first thing you can do is obviously search to filter. So this is a pretty short list, but I've seen element sets that are 100, 200 different items, and so being able to search can be really helpful. So for example, I could just search Geico to filter this list down. I can also access my labels filter in the top right. I can click this, and then I can also filter down this list by the gym label. So for example, if I want to filter down by sponsor, the sponsorship tag, I can just select it, and now we've filtered down the list based on the label. You can also, apply multiple labels. I don't know if I have other, there we go. I can apply multiple labels to render, multiple tag filtering. You can also pair the filters, the label filters with the search, if you need to as well. But all of these can be, searched, filtered down, etc. And I can just clear all of these out. We also render the duration. So if you have a duration defined on the element set or on the element row, we'll show the duration on the right. And then from here to use this, it's super simple. You just click and drag these cards from the right panel directly into the rundown on the left. So for example, if I want to insert this Pepsi Kiss Cam, I just click, drag it, and I just insert it wherever I need to, directly in the rundown on the left. And you'll see we populate that data, with the right column structure over here on the left-hand side. And so when we've brought in some of the similar things as well. So we also have a usage badge. So this will indicate how many times this Pepsi Cam is used in the current rundown that we're in. So you can see it, we have a 1 badge because it's used 1. If I drag it and then insert it twice, you're going to see that badge inserts as 2. So that's a little bit of how kind of that works. And then you'll also notice we have a new label on the row. So in that item number, we have this new kind of globe icon. That is just an indicator that this is a gym item, which means that you get, some other accessible features like the ability to publish changes, which I'll get to in a moment, from the rundown side back to the gym. But this is just your indicator that, this is a gym item versus, a non-gym item, which is listed, down below that. Okay, cool. So let's move to kind of how you edit and make changes to the rundowns. So one big improvement that we've made is if you need to make edits, whether that's changing the content of the Pepsi Kiss Cam, or maybe I need to add a new element in this element set, or maybe I want to add a new column or rename the column. Previously, you would have to navigate outside of the rundown to a dedicated page to make your changes there. And so now you can actually do these changes all without losing or navigating away. So in order to do that, you'll notice we have this ellipses on each one of these cards. So if I click on this, you're going to see you have 2 options. You have an edit and then you have an archive. If I click this edit option, we will render the table view, basically a split table view. So I have my gym items on the right, my gym table on the right, and then I have my rundown on the left. And again, this table is resizable. So, if you're working more on the editing content, you can just easily resize this to maybe see more content, or you can obviously scroll this, left to right if you want to keep it more tight, but this is obviously customizable to your preference. And so from here, I can now make all of my changes to the element set without navigating away. So for example, Pepsi Kiss Cam, maybe I want to change this to, I don't know, we'll call it the Coke Zero Kiss Cam. I can make that quick change there. Maybe it's, no longer 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Maybe we've cut it down to 2:15, etc. I can make all of my changes here. I can also insert new items directly below by just right-clicking on these drag icons and inserting rows. We also have hotkeys for all of these. And so I can build out, new elements in the element manager from here as well. So I'll just call this, test element. I can apply one of my tags. We'll give this the sponsorship tag. I'll also walk through you can also create, update, delete, and modify all of your gym labels directly in here as well. So I can, for example, if I want to create a new label, I'll click create label. I can give create a new label. Maybe we'll call these pregame elements. We'll make them yellow. You can pick the color. You can also, if you have your own color system, you can copy and paste in your hex colors to pick your own color palette. But I'm just going to click create label, and you'll see we'll create, modify, and insert those labels as you update them. And then you can click on the ellipses when you hover over these labels to make edits to those labels as well. So if you need to rename sponsorship to something else or change the color, etc., you just click save changes, and then those obviously will apply. So that's kind of a little bit on the building, updating, the usage of the element set labels. Now for the publishing, I'm just going to do a quick.
There was a couple. I was going to say, Johnny, there's a couple questions that have come through while you're going through it.
Yeah. So okay, I've tried to get a 404. All right, Chris, we did fix something 2 days ago, or maybe it was yesterday. So I'm not sure if you've tried this today, but if you have, we will maybe just let me know in the chat. And if you are still running into it, we'll take a look right after this call to see what might be happening. Okay, try while you're talking. All right, yeah, we'll take a look, Chris, to see what could be happening there. I think Jonathan's on the call. Jonathan, maybe follow up with me after this to make sure we take a look at that one. Does this work with the schedules or just rundowns? Yeah, so I'm assuming you're talking about schedules, in the ShowFlow product. It does not work with schedules, and I'll preface it by saying that schedules is also part of the legacy, rundown product. We do have an answer that we're going to be working on to better enable you to create things like schedules in ShowFlow, using, some different templates that we're setting up. Keith, I'd encourage you to, I'll follow up with you and kind of discuss this a little bit more, but we do have, I don't know if you've tried the new app yet, but with the new app, we have a lot more column configuration, or the columns are now much more configurable. So you can likely recreate the schedules that you're using the schedules product for in the new rundown and use it that way. So I'll maybe follow up and we can talk through that workflow a little bit more. Does this bring in the video file itself or just the name of the video file? Actual assets can be saved as part of GEM. Good question, Jessica. So we don't have, we support the file linking, so like hyperlinking. So on the right-hand side, for example, I can like hover over the content, for this, for example, video. I can then use the hyperlinking, and I can like hyperlink this text to whatever that file is, and go that way. And then when you insert that element, we'll obviously populate the hyperlink with the endpoint of that URL to, Dropbox file, etc. But we don't have, in the new app, we don't quite yet have like the ability to uploaded assets into the event dashboard, the ability to insert those into cells quite yet. So we will be working on that, but not quite yet. So the answer currently would be just using hyperlinking and linking to those assets externally in the element set or in the element row. Let's see. Does changing an existing global element change past rundowns timing? Does changing an existing global element change past rundown timing? No. So that's a good point. Let me talk about, this will help answer that question, I think, Mike, which is the publishing step. So you noticed, and I'll move this over a little bit. We used this Pepsi, excuse me. We used this Pepsi KissCam element, but then I changed it here. I changed the duration as well as the title of this to the Coke Zero KissCam and the duration from 2:30 to 2:15. And you'll see that that did not update it. So the update action requires you to actually manually trigger the publish. And so to do this, I just simply select the row that I want to publish. So for example, this Coke Zero KissCam. And then from here, I'll now see this we have a new toolbar down below and this new publish button. And so when I select the row and then I click publish, this is going to give me a modal to basically select the rundowns that I want to actually make that and publish that change to. So this is the game one that I'm currently in, game one in the test event. If I select this and then click publish, you're going to see as soon as I do that, we updated the content. It's now Coke Zero KissCam. It's also now 2:15 as opposed to 2:30. So that's like it's a user specific action to publish those changes. When you make changes to Jim, we aren't automatically downstream making other changes. And that's on purpose. There's going to be different use cases for it, but most of the time, you want to make sure that you can modify these as well. Which also brings up other use cases for this, where you can use things like, for example, national anthem. That is a recurring element, but the content of that element game to game is going to be different, right? You're going to have a different singer. You're going to have maybe different graphics for it. Those might be interchangeable, but I can still, maybe it's always 1:30. Every time I use this, I can populate it with that skeleton or that template. And then that's already saves me a bunch of time to where now I can just go in and make those small tweaks specific for that event if I need to. So that's why we don't automatically publish the changes kind of by default. Will those assets still go into the Studio Media folder? Yeah, uploaded assets in the event dash, those will go anywhere. The Studio Media folder is just a template folder that we created. You can create your own folders, call them whatever you want, and you can drop assets or upload files directly in the event dashboard. Does this new version of Rundown work with the prompter? Yes. Yeah, so I know we're kind of approaching time, but I want to make sure since this is specific to Jim, I want to make sure I carve off any questions related to the global element first before we pivot to some of the other rundown stuff. And then Keith, I would encourage you to keep an eye out on the next call too, that we'll dive deeper into more of the rundown specific features, but I can also stick around and answer questions. So let me go to, can you publish multiple global elements at the same time? Currently, no, it is a single publish per row, but that is something that we have plans for the ability to select multiple rows that you want to make the changes for and publish it. I do think we have plans for it, but I would encourage you to try it out. Those bulk massive changes, those are big calls to make. And so I'm not 100% on like the timing of that, but that is something that we have plans for. Just, I don't want to make any promises on timings, as we just have other stuff that we have prioritization on ahead of that. So yeah, let's see. I think I've gotten all of the answers. Okay, any other questions relating to the Global Element Manager? The last thing I'll just demo on this, which I think is really nice, is when the side panel is open. I've seen a lot of you specifically that use the Global Element Manager for things like hockey, NHL, MLB, where you'll have like 6-7 game homestands where they're simultaneously working on 5 or 6 game scripts, within the same day, and they jump to different rundowns while you're working on them. So with this new side panel, if you use our drop-down show switcher and you switch to different games, we will keep the side panel rendered, which means that I can actually switch to game 2. And I do have to map this again because I haven't mapped this rundown yet. I'm just going to map 1. But now I can just easily switch game 1, game 2, all with this side panel staying completely open, which means I can very quickly, if I'm focused on the Geico t-shirt toss and building that out across multiple games, I can slide these in, switch to game 1, find the slots, slide these in, insert game 2, and you can kind of see how this works if you're working on a homestand or, back-to-back games or working on different sports teams at the same time. This can be really helpful for, switching it without actually losing visibility there. Cool. Any other questions? Doesn't look like it. Great. I have time, John. I don't know if we want to cut this or move it back to you.
No, I mean,
I'm talking in, around some of the updates as it relates to just the rundown product and not necessarily Gem, but I want to make sure that I'm conscious of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could stay on for another 15 minutes if you think you can cover those, and we can knock that out. Yeah, so let's just do that. And if there's questions, you can address them. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I want to, these people like Keith, I'm glad you're here. I want to, help if we have some time. So I'll focus on, as it relates to just the new rundown product and some of the latest updates that we've made. I'll preface it by saying we have a, if you go to we have this publicly accessible what's new page or our change log. I would encourage you all to bookmark or flag this URL, and you can actually keep a monitor of all of our latest releases as it relates to the new everything that we're shipping. So you can see, last was released on the 26th was the new Element Manager. I can keep scrolling back and see some of the other updates. So this is the easiest way for you to get a pulse on some of the changes that we're making. But I'll focus on a couple of these. So first thing is, obviously drag and drop. So we've rolled out drag and drop across rows and columns around the whole application. So I can click drag and drop rows. We also added drag and drop columns. So if I need to move the PA script column, I can just click the column header, drag and drop it, and place it. So some nice quality of life improvements there. As it relates to the new views, and specifically for Prompter, so in the ellipses dropdown, you're going to see this views dropdown list, and you'll see we have 2 different views that you can choose from. We have a new speaker timer view, as well as our Prompter view. And so the Prompter view, which I'll just jump in, so Keith, you kind of get an example of it. I will open the Prompter view. And so with the new Prompter view, it looks very similar kind of to the old one, as it's obviously just, teleprompter software. But we've added a lot of new features and functionality to it, things like a new appearance setting on the right-hand side for all of your standard, formatting logic. We also added more customization for reading indicators. So you can have now a arrow or a horizontal line. You can also adjust the reading indicator position. We've also made changes to where inline editing no longer needs to do like enter edit mode and then save the change. You can just make your edits directly in line, and we automatically save these changes as you're typing to make it a lot easier. You also have all of your same formatting options that you can access from here, text color, font formatting, all that type of logic. And then of course your, auto scrolling, speed up, slow down, stop, start, all that type of stuff from the sliders. And then we actually built our first device connection. So we built a direct connection to the Contour Shuttle Express, which is like a $60 hardware device that you can directly connect and plug in. And it's purely plug and play. So we automatically map all of the key bindings to the device, so you don't have to install any hardware to actually do things like progressive scrolling and jump tos, etc. So a lot of new stuff in here as it relates to the new prompt review. Not sure, Keith, if you have any specific questions on the prompt review or not, but feel free to shout those out. Feature view, yes, Chris, it is not quite brought over, but that is on our near-term roadmap. We will be bringing back featured view for those PA announcers. Great to hear that your PA announcer has adopted that one as well. But yeah, we will be bringing back featured view soon. I'd probably say 3 to 4 weeks. History of updates, good question. So the history is if you click the ellipses drop down, you'll see the history of updates. Yeah, so it is, if you're in the new app, on your user nav drop down, you'll see a what's new section, but also you can access this from the dashboard as well in the what's new tab. So this will also render all of the updates, and you can open them directly within here, or you can actually click the see all changes, and that'll take you to that dedicated URL. But yeah, good one to bookmark as well. Let's see. I think that's it. I guess the only other one that I'll just has a call out, because it is something that we released in the last couple weeks, is we made some nice changes to the header clocks. And so, for example, we have some new 3 different header clocks that are now configurable on a per rundown basis. So in your rundown settings, you can configure, turn on or off any of these 3 clock types at the top of the rundown. This will hide them for everybody. So there might be scenarios where you want to use some, maybe you don't want to use them on others. So these are all configurable. But we added a new planned clock, which basically renders your start time, your total duration of the show, as well as your projected end of show time. And then your over-under clock will now, when you're using the show caller tracking feature, we both show the current item runtime, which is what's displayed right here, this countdown, as well as your total show over-under delta, and then your projected end of show time below it. So these are all just tools to kind of help better visualize while you're using the show caller tracking feature and advancing through the show, how it's all used from there. So that was an update we made in the last couple weeks that I wanted to just do a quick call out. So yeah, I think there's plenty more, and I wasn't really prepped with diving into a ton of this stuff on the rundown side, but I knew we were planning on doing another session digging through all of the changes that we've made in the new app and focusing more on those. So I would say table those, keep a lookout for that next session, and sign up there, and we'll drill through a lot of those on the next call. So, but I appreciate everybody jumping on. If there's not more questions, please reach out. Chris, we will follow up with you on that issue to figure out what's going on and get you sorted today. But thanks so much, John. I'll send it over back to you.
Yeah, so just a quick update. We'll post the recording to this guy in the show flow space in your community groups. And then also, Johnny didn't mention this, but you can always post any questions or feedback, things like that, or questions to the group in that space. We see those. And there's other people that are subject matter experts that can help as well. So use that show flow space accordingly in the loop here. And as Johnny mentioned, we will have a follow-up event for all these other updates, or to recap the full amount of updates here in the very near future. So keep your eyes and ears out open for that. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Johnny, for walking through that. If you guys need anything, you know where to reach us. And we will see you very, very soon. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. See ya.